All right. Again, wanted to officially welcome you guys. I've turned on our recording. We've got a webinar today. Oh, as more and more people are starting to pop in. Probably there's a few of you waiting to jump in right until it struck the top of the hour. Our topic for today is free e-learning tools for Moodle. My name's Charles. I work for Remote Learner as a solution architect, which is kind of just a fancy way of saying I get to help our clients and our future clients come up with the best solution possible for your Moodle site, incorporating all of the best that our platform has to offer. Sometimes that means researching some additional plugins that we can add to your site. And today, what I wanted to do is kind of highlight a few of the newest ones that we've started to use, especially ones that our own course designers have started to employ. These are some kind of really innovative ones that add some really cool functionality into a course and into a site in some new and interesting ways. Some of these you might have already heard of, but I'm hoping that at least a few of these are going to be new to you guys. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, if you've got a question or a comment, there is a block where you can, a little interface for questions. It does say questions, but if you've got, a comment or something like that, again, feel free to kind of put that in there. I'll be monitoring that in the other screen as best I can. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get started since you guys don't have to look at the picture of me for too much longer. What I'm going to be doing as I go through this is kind of jumping back and forth. I've got a kind of a PowerPoint presentation here that's really kind of just used to help kind of organize it. But then after we talk about the plugin, I've got a couple URLs that I've kind of embedded in the PowerPoint so that we can go to some actual sites where we're employing this new block or activity or the different type of module that it is. So in the time that we've got together, I was hoping that we could cover 5 of these new blocks. The Quickmail Block, the grid course format, which is a really innovative course format that I think can make a Moodle course look much less like a Moodle course than you do. The simple certificate, which is an update to the more standard certificate that I know many people are employing. The simple certificate does a few things really simply that I think are going to help create more customized certificates for learners. We're also going to take a look at the level up block, which is a new block out there that actually can kind of add that additional amount of gamification to a site or to a course, which is kind of the new thing out there. If you're interested in badges or if you're interested in other things like that, the level up block I think is something else that you can add to it. And then finally we're going to look at the progress bar, which is a great way to display to your learners where they're at in the course, what things are due, what things are completed, and what things are kind of coming up. So as we kind of go through this. Now, one thing that I wanted to show you and emphasize in this is that all of these blocks, all of these course formats, certificate activities, all of these things are, again, they're all free activities, that things that can be added into your Moodle site. As I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware, if you're in this webinar, that M in Moodle, it stands for modular. That's one of the greatest benefits of using Moodle as a Remote Learner's platform for our LMS is it can not only have a whole host of activities and functionalities that is built into it from the start with its standard core set of plugins, but additional ones can be added in there. There's an entire library of them that are available, and one of the things that we've done as well for our clients to kind of really make it easier to add some of these in there is a functionality called the RL Update Manager. Okay, and I was going to jump really quick over to this website right here, the RL Manager. And one of the features that you can do is you can install and upgrade add-ons. So we've kind of, again, gone through, we've vetted a list of all of the most popular ones and approved them, tested them to make sure that they are appropriate and they're not going to cause any sort of unforeseen problems on your site. This is a functionality that's available in all of our sites in Moodle 2.7 on up. And once it's loaded and once you kind of pull it up, and I'll show you where it's from. If I'm on this site, there's a RL manager block, and you can just kind of click on manage add-ons, and that brings up this interface right here. But what I can do once it loads is I can do a search, say for progress bar. Oh, and I want to show I want to show golden add-ons too. And so it'll actually pull up all of the things that have been vetted, that have been approved, that are ready for installation. And actually, as an administrator on the site, just a regular administrator who can see the site administration menu, I can actually go through the process of installing these new plugins directly onto my site. I don't have to put in a ticket. I don't have to have any sort of access other than my full administrative access, and allows me to get some of these. So again, if you're one of our clients on 2.7 above and you see one of these, most of them are available. A couple of them haven't been fully vetted yet, or they haven't been added to this interface, and it might require a ticket, but a good many of them are, like the progress bar. The only one that might not be is the level up. Right. That's the only one I think that would need to be actually requested. We haven't had a chance to add it yet to our to this add-ons upgrade interface that we've developed. So, but again, I just wanted to kind of point that out just to show you just how easy it is to add many of these. And let's go ahead and go back and kind of start talking about a few of these. So the Quickmail block is there to kind of create a much more robust interface for administrators, and in particular, I'd say course designers, instructors, to get information out to their students. You might be familiar with the Moodle messaging system, which is very great. It's powerful. You can send a message directly to individuals within your course, but you're often limited to just text. It's also more difficult to send messages in bulk. A lot of times what people might do is use the news forum as a way to kind of send out email blasts or notification blasts to people within their course. But again, that has its limitations as well. What the Quickmail block does is it allows that instructor to send emails to learners directly from the course. You can add attachments. You've got a much more robust formatting options because you've got that full HTML toolbar, something that's missing if you're just going with the Moodle messaging. And you can also do a lot more filtering within the block, as we're going to see in just a second. You can look, of course, obviously, and look at individual students and send them a message, but you can also take a look at everybody who's a student in the course, everyone who's a teacher, even filter by group, and then send those emails directly to those users as well. And finally, there's an option in there to actually let your students, the end users, take advantage of this as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. I'm going to go on into my course, and I found out that something about passing over from the PowerPoint link didn't work as well. All right, so here's that Quickmail block. It's basically a block. I just added it to the course once that Quickmail block has been installed on my site. Here I've got a kind of a pretty nice menu of options. Everything from compose a new email, which is right here at the top. And here you can see I've got a couple filtering options. I can actually just maybe pick an individual user, like this user, Dr. Mike, add it to the selection. I can also do a filter for maybe just students. So it's going to automatically filter for everyone who's got a student role in the course. And then I can add them in as well. Another good filtering thing is I've got groups set up in this course. Acme users, Spacely Sprockets users, Stark Industry users. And if I have a specific group that I want to send an email to, I can pretty easily do that. So if I just want to send one to all the Acme users, so there they are. Wile E. Coyote, Acme 1, Acme 3, and Acme 2. I can just add them to that email as well. Much quicker, similar probably to maybe using that news forum in a group format, but in this case, I think you'll see that there's some additional benefits to this. I can also send it to additional people that are outside of the course, maybe people that aren't even in your Moodle site as a whole, by just typing in their email address, okay? A key thing to point out here is that this block is actually going to be sending an email directly from the, as you notice, it says this is actually the user's email that I'm logged in as, that remote learner admin. So it's actually going to be sending an email from here to these users, in a way kind of by the Moodle messaging system. So in that way, I can also add additional email addresses if I wanted to. So I can add in my own, say, work email. I can add attachments, multiple attachments, which is a great thing. You're not, again, limited to just one attachment, or like Moodle messaging, where it's, you know, near impossible to add an attachment, a subject line, and then the actual text of the message, which utilizes the full HTML toolbar. So you're not just limited to text. I can put in, change the colors up, change the formatting up so that it's an actual real email. I can also choose different signatures as well, and I'll show you guys that in just a second. And then if I want to receive a copy of it too, so it would actually send me a copy to my own email. Now I'm going to save this in draft format for now. Go back out and take a look at some of the old drafts. So unlike just Moodle messaging, where, you know, once you go off that page, if you haven't already seen it, it's gone forever, you can actually save some drafts. So this is one that I was working on earlier. If I want to continue working on it, I can just kind of pull it up, and if I needed to, I could go ahead and send it once I know that it's ready for being sent out to a user. In the same way, I can look at my own signatures, add different signatures, add a custom signature at the bottom based on who I am. And as far as the configuration goes, again, this is also where you can come in and say, you know, in addition to the teacher and the non-editing teacher, I want to make this available for students. So it's possible to restrict that role and who can see it on a course-by-course level. It's not just kind of a one-size-fits-all. You can also pretty easily update it to make sure that it's there for everybody else. Again, a good use case if you've got a large number of students broken up in groups and the ability to kind of quickly update and let people know where announcements in the course, a little bit more feature rich than what you might see with the Moodle messaging or just using the news forum. I'm going to go on. Let's take a look at the second one. All right, so this is the grid course format. Now, this is a course format that can be added into your site. The two kind of most popular ones, or the ones that most people are familiar with, are the topic format, and then, of course, the weekly format, which are very useful. They're very popular. They're kind of the ones that is standard whenever you create a course. One of the things that people kind of talk about that they dislike about those is that sometimes, especially if you've got a larger course, you can end up with a course that's very, very long. Some people call it the scroll of death, which basically means in order to get to the newest content, in order to get to the most recent topic, okay, you often have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, because, you know, week 1 is at the top, week 12 is at the bottom, and you need to be able to get there. Now, there's some ways that you can play around with it. You can, you know, create use some different topics, make sure that there's only one that's visible, right? So you can hide the other ones. The grid format, it kind of comes about it in a different way. It reimagines the course as a set of icons or tiles. And basically each one of the topics is hidden in a way behind this icon and the tile. And this is a customizable image. When you're setting up a course, you can actually go in and upload an image that can be used for that. And again, you can still title each one of the topic sections as you want, but the end result is going to the main page of the course. You're going to see all the topic sections listed out in front of you, and then it's very, very easy to then click on one of them and then bring up the contents of that topic. All right, so let's see kind of what this looks like in action. I've got an example of it right here. Now this example, this course, it's actually taking advantage of a couple other things. It's also got some, what we call our rain interactions. That's kind of this accordion style interface to kind of organize content in a better way. But that's not actually what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you this. Here's the grid interface. All right. So these are actually the different weeks. So it's kind of titled each one by weeks. The icon, the image that's being used, is added and uploaded directly in there. So it's a customizable part of it, kind of just like you would customize maybe the name of the section and the description. When you're using the grid format, there's kind of just another option for the image that's used. There's also this kind of cool thing where if there's a new thing that's been added to that section, since a user has logged in the last time, it's going to show you this kind of notification that there's something new inside of it. And then once the user's seen it, that goes away. Now looking at it, I'm going to click on week 1. The way that we've set this one up is it actually appears as kind of like a pop-up window. Again, using some rain interactions at the top to kind of break up the content. But below here, that's where the content is. That's where the activities are that you can then go into. To return back to the course, in this format, you can just click on the red X and you go back to the main course. Now there's other ways that you can use this. The setting for kind of the pop-up window is one option. It's also possible to actually have it kind of display embedded within the page, not as a pop-up window. That is an option too, but just a very kind of unique way to kind of add a little bit of visual information into the course, but also organize it so that you're not having to scroll all the way down to get from one activity or from one section to the next. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the grid format? Okay. Well, as we kind of go through this, we'll probably have a few minutes towards the end. I like to usually save a little bit of time at the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump in. Let me know. Also, I'll try to save a little bit of time at the end so that we can kind of go back through things if you've got any. So the next one on my list after the grid course format is the simple certificate. Does anybody here today actually use a certificate within their courses right now? It's a pretty common plugin. Basically, if you're not familiar with the certificate as a whole, it allows you to create a PDF activity at the very bottom of a course that is accessible after you've met some sort of requirements. Oftentimes something along the lines of a pass to quiz. If you get above a certain threshold on the quiz, then you're able to access this certificate activity. The certificate activity kind of gives you the ability for the end user to click on a hyperlink, and then they are kind of displayed a certificate that looks pretty much like this one that you see here. It generates a PDF based on attributes of the user, pulling in the name of the course, and then other sort of design elements that are unique to that specific activity. Let's see, Lori asked, how do you get the tabs in your grid format? What kind of interaction? At the end, if you'd like, I can show you guys a little bit about the rain interaction. That's a set of filters as well that we've created with Remote Learner that are available, and it basically takes HTML and through a filter, it kind of adds some additional interactions. It does require a little bit of HTML formatting, but like I said, at the end, I can definitely kind of go over some of those RAIN interactions because they do kind of make your course pop once you get those. So that's a great question, Lori. I'll make sure to kind of go over a little bit of those at the end as well. So as far as the simple certificate goes, again, the certificate is great. It gives people a chance to kind of download something after they've completed the course. Reports can easily be run on it. You can find out who's gotten certificates and who hasn't. One of the hard things about the certificate module, if you've ever used it, is that it can be a little bit difficult to customize it. There's a number of customizations built into it. You can change the color of the border, for example, that we see on here. It's blue. You can change the information that's put on there. Do you want it to display the name of the course? Do you want it to display the date? Include a credit amount? Change out maybe the seal? But a lot of that is kind of a difficult thing if you want to really, really customize it. You can upload additional images that are used for it. But again, even that has to be done oftentimes with uploading it by SFTP directly into the server. So some people really have trouble if they really want to take that certificate to the next level and make it look like it's something that's unique. And so that's where the simple certificate comes in. And as we're going to see in a second, I think you'll see just how easy it is to modify it. And one of the key things that you can do is you can add in additional profile fields through tags. So by just kind of inputting some stuff through the user interface as an administrator, you can kind of add in additional things that are going to automatically show up within that certificate for the end user. So let's take a look at one real quick. URL we need. Okay, so this is kind of how it would look to an end user, more or less. They would come into the site, or they would finish their course, they would click on the certificate, and then they would say, get certificate, and then it automatically generates that certificate as a new PDF, kind of pulling together all of the different courses and all the different information. In this case, now I'm looking at a certificate, much more unique. It's got a watermark on the back. It's pulling in a lot of different information. It's pulling in my name at the time, which is Remote Learner Admin, the name of the course, and then it's presented by, and then the teacher who's there in the course. You can tell it looks a lot different. It's got a lot more customized parts to it. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So from the site, I'm going to click on Edit Settings here under the Certificate Administration. And if you're familiar with the certificate as a whole, I think you'll notice the settings are pretty similar. It can do many of the same things. It's just going to be a slight difference in how you can customize it. So as I scroll down, the one big thing that you're going to see is that you can upload a file image. So this file image right here is actually just a JPEG file that was created, kind of like the background of the site, of the certificate as a whole. All right, with the places of information that we want to trick out are kind of left blank. So once that image has been uploaded in here, the certificate text is actually just the different tags. So in this case, first name, last name, the course name, presented by, and so on. So we're basically just putting in some headers, some tags, and then the certificate itself, whenever a user clicks on it, they're actually going to go in and Moodle's going to pull together all of the different parts of information and pull it together and display it within that PDF for the end user. You're obviously not limited to just text, but you can also, of course, embed pictures directly in there. So some people might not even have to start off with a base image to build from. It's possible to build everything with the HTML directly within this interface as well. So lots of different ways that you can go about creating this custom certificate, all without having to go through and upload additional images. You still have some options with how you want it to be issued, if you want to print the date, print outcomes and things like that, just like there is in the original one. Again, it's just all about making it easier to put these in. If I go down to the Google Docs for this page, there's a list of all of the different tags that you can add to the simple certificate. Everything from additional profile fields to information about the course, all can be added in here to really kind of make it a unique certificate for every single one of the users. All right, the next one that I've got, and this is actually probably my favorite one. It's called the level up block. All right, now a lot of people have become familiar with kind of the gamification of learning. A few versions of Moodle ago, badges were introduced into the equation. Badges basically created kind of this little incentive for learners to kind of earn as they complete things. So you could create a badge that goes along with if you post 5 times to a forum, then you earn a badge, like some sort of chatty Chatterton badge or something like that. And that's great. Badges can be earned, they can be displayed. You can take those badges, you can apply them to your online kind of badge repository. But the level up is kind of moving on to something a little bit different, okay? If you've ever played a lot of video games, a lot of times there's kind of experience points that come with earning and doing things within the world of a video game. You defeat a certain baddie or evildoer, you gain experience points. As you earn more experience points, you get additional privileges. You get to kind of become more powerful within the system, within the game itself. Now you can do a similar thing with your Moodle site. As you go through the Moodle site, as you kind of experience things and accomplish tasks, you can actually be building up your experience points and move up from level to level. The level up block does that. It kind of pulls in on a lot of events that are going on in the system so that you can actually customize not only the different levels, as we'll see in a second, but you can even go a step further and you can customize what are the things that learners have to trigger in order to kind of earn those experience points, okay? The site that I'm going to show you right now as we go into this is actually Remote Learner's own training site. We're kind of been building it. We're kind of slowly releasing it. So I'm going to first log in actually as myself, and you'll see where Charles Ackerman is actually at within the interface. All right, so when I scroll down, you'll see level up. I've only got 2 points, okay? There's not much that I've done on this site yet. So what I need to do is I need to actually go and do stuff. I can check out this page. Hopefully, when I go back to the home page, it's gone up to 3. I can check out the level up rules. So these are all of the things that actually will earn me points. This is just a page that our designers have created to kind of give me some more information. Notice they've also kind of put in the different levels that I can achieve. Complete with its own custom icon. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. Complete with its own custom icon. It's experience points required, and then there's actually a customized name that goes along with that level. So level 1, that's what I'm at right now. I need to do some stuff. Level 2, if I get 120, I'm a newbie. Level 3, and so on. You can kind of see how we kind of pulling on the number of circles all the way down to Jedi Master. If I can achieve the rank of level 10, I just need to get 3,800 experience points, and then I will be a full Jedi Master. Unfortunately, I am at, I think, 4 now. Yes, I'm at 4, still level 1. Each one of the interactions is obviously weighted differently, okay? Looking at a page of information in our setup, I think is obviously only worth 1 point. If I were to go through and complete the quiz, that would be worth a little bit more. If I go into some of the courses, it's going to do a little bit more as well. Now I can, from the block, part of the block is I can check out information, and it's basically just showing me these are the different levels. I can even go a step further, and this block has got a ladder, kind of a leaderboard, so I can find out where I stack up in terms of experience points versus other people within the company. All right, so Andrea is doing pretty well. Justin is really kicking butt. He's got 180 experience points. Or actually, no, he's almost up to level 2. You can kind of see how the progress bar goes up to level 2. But Andrea is definitely the one who is winning right now with 248 experience points. So it's something that people can always come back and check in on. You know, adding that bit of competition, adding that little extra bit of gamification into the mix so that it's not just about going through boring material or going through something that many people might consider boring. It's about adding a little bit of competition to it, because everybody tends to do better with some competition. What I'm going to do is log out and log back in as an administrator so that you can kind of we can take a look at the insides of the block. So you can kind of see how it's set up. All right. Also, logging in as an administrator or logging in as somebody who's got editing power within a course, you can also take a look at the reports. So you can kind of see how things are stacking up, where people are at, take a look at the leaderboard. But I'm going to take a look at settings for now in particular. So there's some kind of basic settings. I think it's also interesting that the developers of this block have put in a cheat guard. There's actual things that are built into it to kind of make it harder for people to cheat within it, so that you can't just, I couldn't just sit there and click on the that one page over and over again and try to rack up my 1 point at a time. It's actually going to have a time frame for the max amount of actions that I could take on a single thing. And also, there's a certain amount of time that I have to wait before I can do the same thing over again. So I found that very interesting, that for something as kind of simple as the level up, there's already kind of people that might be trying to cheat. From the settings, I can take a look at the ladder, but what I wanted to show you is just how easy it is to set up the levels. So it's very, very simple. You're just going through and giving it a description and giving it a experience points that are required. And additional levels can be added as needed. Now, I'm not going to save it here because, as it says, if I were to do it, then I would mess up those current leaders. So I'm just going to hit cancel. But changing the number of experience points required is simple. The setup is just mostly the hard part's probably figuring out how you want to define those levels. That would probably take a little bit of more effort. The other part of setup on this one is the rules. As I mentioned before, it's not just about everything is the same, okay? Every time I click a page, it's a point. That would be a little bit too simple. That would be a little bit mundane. No two things in a Moodle site are often the same. So you can create your own rules. So, for example, a person in this case earns 20 points if they earn a badge, which makes sense. Earning a badge is obviously probably a much more involved process than doing a, taking just a random look at a page or something like that. 1 experience points, and then there's a long list of things. Starting a quiz. Notice it's not finishing a quiz, just starting a quiz. Taking a look at a page, starting a lesson, looking at the feedback. So all of these things are kind of, again, customizable. I can add a condition without any effort. So I pick my condition type, and then I can go through and add them. I'm not going to do that right now because, again, I don't want to mess up the work that our designers have already done setting these up. So 2 points, 5 points, and so on. All of these different things can be added into the site and created to kind of create that customized experience that learners are looking for. As far as the visuals as well, you can use custom level up badges. So kind of as you go through these, you've got all of the different ones. The naming convention, I think, is pretty obvious for you to be able to see how those naming conventions work. You name the files as the level number, and then it gives you a recommended size. So it's pretty much just like any of the other badges. And you just upload all of the different levels that you've got, and then it'll automatically display that for the end user as they're going through there. And then the settings that we already looked at before. So the last thing that I wanted to tell you about this level up block, and I didn't get a chance to actually play with it, but I did see that it was a new plugin that is associated with the level up block, is basically an activity release condition. If you've ever played around with some of the newest features in Moodle 2, actually many of them aren't that new anymore. They've been around for quite a few versions. But if you go within a course, there's the ability to set up conditions for release. So if I go back to this course, I can set up conditions within this course to kind of say, if I complete the sample lesson, then the glossary opens up for me. Until I complete the glossary, I cannot take the quiz or the assignment and so on. So you can build these restrictions into the course. And there's a number of restrictions that are available within base Moodle. Everything from completion of a prior activity, time-sensitive things, grade-sensitive things. If you haven't already played with it, one of the really cool things is profile restrictions. You can actually restrict things based on a user's profile field. Imagine if you've got a user with a certain profile field that specifies them as belonging to one group or another, and that actually gives them their own customized version of an activity that's set aside just for that user group based on profile. But also, now there's a way that you can restrict access based on levels, okay? So it kind of works in combination with that level up block, but adds a way so that you can say you cannot take the quiz until you have mastered, you know, Jedi level within the site or within the course, all right? Again, kind of creating that real kind of gamification type thing with maybe little Easter eggs that are hidden in the course that you have to achieve a certain amount of experience point to access. So, you know, again, just kind of pointing out a couple things that are there, not even on the horizon, but have just kind of been coming out. I'm sure you can imagine some really cool ways that you could use not only the level up block, but possibly that restriction type that works in conjunction with the level up block. All right, the last kind of block and plugin that I wanted to share with you in our time today, it's similar to the level up block. It's called the progress bar. Now this is a time management tool for students. It allows you to kind of take a course and then decide which activities you want to appear within it. And then learners can see in a very visual and a very quick and easy way what things they have going, what things are upcoming, and what things they've already completed. The screenshot here is a good kind of summary of how that block works. The green in this case are things that have been completed. The red are things that were not completed. And then the color upcoming is kind of what's coming up now. There's this kind of now icon. So that's kind of, this is where you're at within the course at this time. So everything to the left has already been done. The time frame has probably ended. Everything to the left is about to happen. They're coming up. Each one of the little rectangles represents another activity that's got some sort of completion condition for it. When you're setting up the block, as we're going to see in a second, it's kind of incumbent upon the instructor, the designer, to choose which activities they want to be able to include within this progress bar. And again, it uses the inherent completion conditions and due dates within the Moodle activities. And if you're logged in as a designer, you're going to get a little bit of an extra view, as we'll see in a second. You can kind of see what all of your excuse me. You can see where all of your users are within the course. Kind of a good snapshot. So I'm going to go and go to our final one. Okay, so in this final kind of course, I've called it the groups course, I've just got a few real basic assignments. I'm not trying to wow you with my design skills at this point. So there's 3 assignments and then there's a quiz. So 4 activities total, and those are the 4 activities that we have in the course right now. I went ahead and I created these assignments in the quiz so that they all happen, you know, within the future. As in not yesterday or the week before. So that's why they're all showing as, in this case, purple, and the now bar is out to the very far left. So it's telling us that all of these things are coming up. None of them have passed. We still have some time to do them. Hovering your mouse over actually shows you which one you're looking at. And as an end user, I have the opportunity to say, hey, this is coming up first. Let's take a look at it. And it could take me directly to the assignment in question so that I can make sure that I get it done. I went one too far. There we go. As an instructor, I can see the overview. I can click on the overview of my students, and I know exactly where they're at. So in this case, my students are not doing very well. They haven't really progressed to do anything. Most of them haven't even logged into the course yet. Hovering over the progress bar kind of expands it out a little bit so that I can get a little bit more detailed information about each one. There's also some actions that you can take kind of from this report. So I can send a message to individual users. Now this isn't like the Quickmail Block, right? This is going to go through the normal Moodle messaging system. But I can, if I know at a quick glance that a few students have, you know, not been logging in, I can easily select those students that haven't logged in, and I can send them a message. All right, and then I can send the message on. Now, to take a look at the insides of it, how it's set up, let me turn editing on and go to the block settings to configure the block. Now, when doing these settings, it's pretty simple. There's nice kind of help included with each one, which is always nice whenever you're working with a new block. But I can give it a new title. And then I can also choose if I want to use those different icons, including that kind of now icon. That's an option that's available to an instructor. And I have it set to show at first all of the things that are in the course, but I can also go back through and I can actually take some of them out. So the monitored or not, that's actually telling me, do I want to use this within the block? Is this something that I want to be in the block? So just because it's in the course, it doesn't mean it's going to automatically be shown in the block. You can limit the number of activities that are going to be there to maybe just the important ones, or maybe just the things that you know for a fact are going to affect their overall grade. It also can use the existing expect by date or the due date. All right. So within each of these assignments, I've gone in and I've changed the due date as needed, so that it automatically updates and it shows those in the block, as well as the quiz. All right, so that's pretty much the progress block in a nutshell. Like I said, I usually like to leave about 15 minutes at the end to kind of ask for questions. I know Lori asked about the RAIN interaction, so I was going to pull that up. If anyone else has any questions about one of these blocks that we were talking about, please let me know. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to some information about RAIN. As I said before, RAIN is basically it's a set of filters that you can add to your site. It's available through that RL Update Manager. If you don't have access to the RL Update Manager and you're a client of Remote Learner, then you can always also put in a ticket and we can help you load it in there. If you're unfamiliar with what a filter does, it's basically it's kind of like a rule that your site's going to be looking for in terms of all the text. And whenever it sees some text that matches up with that rule, then it's going to do something with the text. In this case of the RAIN filters, it's going to kind of display the text in one of the interactions that are available. If you have RAIN on your site, there is a way to kind of see some of this interactions. I think I flipped out there for a second during the meeting. I think I'm back now. What I was saying is when you go to that website, the link that's provided here, and it opens up a page that basically gives you all the instructions and all of the text of the RAIN interactions. So for example, the accordion, it gives you an example of it, and you can click on the icon here to get the actual HTML text that you're looking for. And you would basically copy and paste that HTML text into your into the HTML editor that you're looking at to kind of add that information into that particular page of the site that you're looking at. Like I said, it does require a little bit of HTML knowledge, because you basically take the base HTML here, and then you would insert the content that you're looking for between the different tags of the HTML, so that you could then literally add the content in that way. So each one of the interactions is going to be part of the settings in your site that you could get to. There's a number of different interactions here. The accordion, the different tabs. Again, you kind of pull the base HTML code. See if I'll show you guys one real quick. Now the trick to pasting in the HTML code is I can't just paste it in right here, because this is an HTML. I've got to go and click on this icon, and that converts it to pure HTML. So I paste the HTML in, I hit Save Changes, and now I've inserted that base content in here. And at this point, I would need to then go in, again, within the base HTML, and I could add in the content that I want to between the different tags that are appropriate. So at this point, that's how we use the rain. Again, I want to stress again, it's probably more for those who are familiar with HTML, and looking at the different tags doesn't kind of make them queasy. But like I said, it's available if you're kind of interested in it. Request or add the rain filters to your site, and go to the settings. I'll show you how to get to those settings again. So you go under plugins, filters, because it is a filter, and you'd go to the rain library JavaScript. And then that's where the options are for all the different rain interactions. There's a number of them in here. Vertical tabs, tabs at the top, the arrow tabs. We've created a large number of ones that are possible. Even drag and drop. So I will leave those for you. Let me see, is it the rain? Yes, it is actually, John. That's a good question. Especially if you've upgraded to the latest version of them, we have optimized them so they're all touch sensitive. So this one that we're looking at right here in particular is probably one of my favorites, where you could actually ask a question like, what are the levels of Bloom's taxonomy? And then the options are out here, wrong or right. And these are touch sensitive. So if I was looking at this on a iPad, I could actually use my finger, touch the one that says Fido, and drag and lift off my finger, and it would do the same thing. So all of the stuff that we design, if we make it, we try to do it as much as possible so that it's available in a responsive way, right? And I'll also say, you might have noticed that how the rain elements might work are going to differ a lot based on your theme, okay? If you don't have anything in the theme that specifically speaks to the rain elements, they might look a little bit like this. Whereas in the site that we were just looking at before, designers, when they created this theme, they specifically played around with the rain elements. So it knows how to pick up those specific attributes that are being pulled in from the filter, and it themes it out based on the color palette of the theme. So just again, like a little word of warning, it's one of the tools our designers like to use, and it's one of the tools that that we love to kind of play with when we're designing a lot of custom stuff for our clients. Not to say it's not usable by everybody, but it's one of those things where there's usually a lot of things going on at once. So, all right. It's always funny. The one thing that I didn't have in my presentation is often the one that everybody likes the most with the rain filters. I'll leave you with one little parting thing about rain, just because. Let me see if I can pull up the link to it. I don't have the link to what I was looking for. I apologize. That's what I get for going off script at the end of a session. Here's what I was looking for. So I'll paste this in the chat for everybody, just as something you might be interested in. It's a URL. You might have to log in as a guest to go into it, but it's actually kind of a good thing, a good use case of a couple different things. Not only is it showing off some of the different rain interactions, but it's also an example of the grid format. Each one of these tiles here is actually a section, and with its own kind of image that we created to kind of demonstrate the section. Clicking on the section for the tile, it pulls up the rain interaction in the format of a label within that section. So it's kind of an interesting use of Moodle and rain and course format kind of all tied together. That's one of the cool things our designers like to do. Mix and match various things. Here's that Bloom's taxonomy that I was talking about. So if you wanted to go to that URL that I put in the chat and save it and kind of take a look at it, it's a good demonstration of all the different types of rain interactions that we've been able to create. And I know we're going over, but just to kind of go back to John's question about responsive design, a good example of how these are even meant to be responsive is this booklet one. Notice at first it's a book. You can kind of page through the pages of the book. If it were being viewed on something smaller, it changes out to a card. So the size of the screen dictates how that particular interaction is going to display within the interface. So, and there you go. We hit our hour. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. You've got a few different new plugins that you could possibly play with and have loaded into your site. And if there's any other questions, just let me know. And hopefully Remote Learner can, again, help you guys continue to create amazing things on your LMS sites.